Hi, how are you guys doing today? I'm so glad that you're back with us again. I love you guys and I missed you, and God loves you and He's always with you. You know, last week and the week before you saw my pet Daisy, my dog. This week you can see my pet here, Nibbles. Nibbles is a little mouse that loves to get petted. In fact, if you pet her right behind her head and kind of go in a circle, she'll just lay there for a long time. And this Nibbles is pretty amazing. In fact, God made Nibbles and God made Daisy and God made you and me. Here you go, Grace. Let me take Nibbles there. All right, there you go. And I just want to say, but what different? God made us different than the animals, didn't He? In fact, He did. He made us in His image. The animals aren't made in God's image, but we are. And God loves us in a special way because the Bible says He's our Father. And we are His children if we know and believe in Him. And He loves us so much that He demonstrated His love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And it just shows how much He does love us. He didn't die for the animals, but He died for us. And He put us on earth to take care of the animals in the earth. And that's why we're here. In fact, that verse I just said to you, that God demonstrates His love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, He died for us, is a verse we talked about Wednesday. And you're saying, well, wait, what are you talking about? And we just started last Wednesday something called midweek meetings. And we're going to meet once in the middle of the week of every week. And we have a Bible verse, and I challenge you to memorize that. And if you do, I'll send you a special gift after a few weeks. And we have a short devotion about that. And it only lasts a few minutes. So I challenge you to watch the midweek meetings that we're putting out every week. But God's pretty amazing, isn't He? And everyone in the Bible that encountered God, that's what my church says this week, encounter. And everyone that encountered Jesus knew that Jesus was an amazing person. And we saw a few people that in the past couple of weeks that encountered Jesus in pretty amazing ways. Last week, we saw our girl who died a few hours before, and Jesus went and raised her from the dead. And then we heard of a woman who was bleeding for 12 years, and she just had to touch the edge of his cloak, and she was healed. An encounter with Jesus changed their lives. We saw a week before that a man that was demon possessed, and he encountered Jesus, and he told everyone in his town about what Jesus did for him. We also saw a man who was paralyzed, and when he encountered Jesus, Jesus forgave his sins and also healed him. And the disciples, they encountered Jesus over and over again. And one time they were on a boat in the storm, and Jesus came walking out to them on the water, and they had an encounter with Jesus that way. And you can have an encounter with Jesus too, by knowing who He is and believing in Him. And then He sends His Spirit to come and live in you, and you are never the same. And He speaks to you through His Word and other ways, and you grow in Him, and He works through you, and it's pretty amazing, and you will never be the same either. But today we're going to talk about one of the biggest miracles Jesus ever did. This miracle is huge. In fact, no one has ever did this miracle in the history before Jesus did it. And here, let me read it to you, because this is a pretty amazing thing. It's found in the book of John. And it's in John 11, okay? And the man's name is Lazarus. And it says here in John 11:1, it says, "Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was in Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, 'Lord, the one you love is sick.'" See, Jesus had a special relationship with these people, and they had an encounter with Jesus, so they knew when they were in trouble and their brother was sick, they knew they could go to Jesus, and Jesus could heal him. So let's see what happens. When Jesus heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when He heard that Lazarus was sick, He stayed where he was 2 more days. Wow. He loved him, but He didn't go to him right away, because something has to happen. And we're going to see what that is. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. But they said this, but Rabbi, but teacher, they said, a short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you're going back? And Jesus said, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the day will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to wake him up. His disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get better. So they think he was really sleeping. Jesus didn't mean he was sleeping. Listen to this. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So Jesus knew Lazarus died, but his disciples thought he was just talking about he was just taking a nap. And he goes on and says, so then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I'm glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. See, Jesus stayed there because Lazarus had to die. Because they didn't quite believe that Jesus was the Messiah, was God who came into the world, who saved them from their sins. They didn't quite get it yet. But after this, they'll understand it a little bit more. Then Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. Thomas is going, hey, let's go with Jesus. If they kill Jesus, let's die with Jesus, because he's our leader. He's the Messiah. So they got up, and it says, on Jesus' arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus has been in the tomb for 4 days. He's been dead for 4 days, and they put him in a grave and put a big rock in front of it. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed home. It's just like today, if you have a grandpa or a grandma or someone that dies, people come to your house and they comfort you and they cry with you and they're there with you. That's what was happening here. And now Jesus was coming. And Mary stayed in the house and Martha went out to meet him. And she says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. So she believes that Jesus still can do something. And Jesus said, your brother will rise again. And Martha said, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection at the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though he dies. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? And do you believe this? I do. I believe that Jesus is life himself and that he came and died and rose again for me. And because I believe in him, I will never die. In this life, I might fall asleep and they might put me in the ground someday. They will. But I won't be dead. I'll be living with Jesus. And someday, and at the last day, he'll give me a new body and I'll be walking around and celebrating on a new heaven and new earth with him. And I hope you will too. And Martha knew this and believed this. And this is what she says. She says, yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God who is coming into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, thinking she was going to the tomb to cry there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. Man, she's falling at Jesus' feet. She knows that Jesus could have saved her brother. But Jesus is going to do something even better. And Jesus, it says, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in the spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come, see, my Lord. And Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see, he loved him. But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of a blind man have kept this man from dying? See, this they were saying, man, Jesus could heal people. Why didn't he heal Lazarus? Because Jesus has something better. Jesus is going to do something amazing. And look at this. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid in front of it. And Jesus said this, take away the stone. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there's a bad smell, for he has been there for 4 days. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? This is amazing. Jesus is going to do something they can't even think of. That's going to be so much better than healing their brother. And let's see. It says, so they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. And when he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out! The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen, and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. Jesus raised a man who was dead for 4 days. That's better than healing. Any healing could have ever have happened. And you would think everyone would be happy, wouldn't you? You'd think everyone would be excited, wouldn't you? But look what happens. It says, therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen Jesus believed in him. Many believed, but not all of them. Check this out. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus did. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting. And then they decided that they would have to kill Jesus for healing, for raising a man to life. Not just healing the man, but making a man who was dead for 4 days come back to life. What an amazing thing. Jesus knows what he's doing. And sometimes he makes us wait. And sometimes we don't think he knows what he's doing, but he always does. And it's always for his glory. And this was for Jesus' glory too. Many, many people believe because of this. But let's watch the video. How's that? Let's watch the video.
Jesus and Lazarus were friends. Lazarus lived in the town of Bethany in Judea with his sisters Mary and Martha. One day, Lazarus got sick. Mary and Martha sent a message to Jesus. Lord, your friend Lazarus is sick, they said. Jesus told his disciples, Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. The sickness will bring glory to God and to the Son of God. Jesus stayed where he was for 2 more days. Then Jesus said, let's go back to Judea. By the time Jesus arrived in Bethany, Lazarus had been in a tomb for 4 days. Martha hurried to meet Jesus, but Mary stayed home. Martha said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Martha knew Jesus could do a miracle, though. I know God will give you whatever you ask, she said. Jesus replied, your brother will rise again. Martha believed that Lazarus would rise from the dead in the future, on the last day. But Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die, ever. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, Martha said. I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God. Martha went back to the house. She told Mary that Jesus wanted to see her. So Martha left the house, and all the people who had come to comfort Mary and Martha followed her. Mary fell at Jesus' feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Mary was crying, and Jesus wept too. Mary led Jesus to the tomb where Lazarus was buried. It was a cave, and a huge stone covered the opening. "Remove the stone," Jesus said. So the stone was moved aside. Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you heard me." Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out." Lazarus came out of the tomb, wrapped in linen and cloth. Jesus said, "Unwrap him and let him go." When Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, he showed that he has power over death. Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life." Jesus died on the cross for our sin and rose from the dead. He gives eternal life to those who trust in him.
Oh, all right. Wow. Lazarus had a lot of stuff. Oh, whew. Man, can you imagine that? A dead person coming out of the grave. Oh, can we get the TV to stop buzzing for me? Thank you, Caleb. Well, man, it's just amazing. And you know, when Jesus found out that Lazarus was sick, he waited 2 days. He made them wait. And sometimes Jesus makes us, even today, wait for things. And one of the things I made you wait for is I showed you Nibbles earlier, my pet. And last week I asked you to send pictures into me to show me your pets. And I didn't show you them there because I wanted to make you wait, because sometimes God makes us wait for good things. Do you guys want to see the pictures real quick? You do? Well, here they are. They're pretty amazing pictures. I'm glad you guys sent them in. And I have one picture here of somebody's cat chasing a ball of string. Somebody's cat chasing a ball of string. I have another picture here. It looks like of a dog running around outside in the sunshine. So I got a picture of someone's dog. And here, somebody must not have had a pet. So I have here, they drew me a picture of a flower. And then this is a special picture here. This is a picture of Rivers. It says, "This is Rivers. He is a shouty. River is 4 years old and loves to play with frisbees." And you know whose dog this is? It's Miss Chris. And Miss Chris is an amazing Sunday school teacher. In fact, Miss Chris, a lot of you guys had Miss Chris as a teacher. And a lot of your parents, your mom and dads had Miss Chris as a teacher. You know how great she is. And if you didn't have Miss Chris yet, hopefully you will. In fact, some of you will get her next year when you move up from preschool to kindergarten. And you guys will be amazed with how much she loves you and how much she loves Jesus. And that's why she loves to teach you guys, because she loves you guys and Jesus so much. But I want you guys to remember today that Jesus loves you. And he loves you so much that he conquered death for you. And he proved that in the story today. He destroyed death for Lazarus. Lazarus died, and 4 days later God raised him to life. But that's not the end of the story. Shortly after this story, Jesus would go to the cross and die for you and me. And he wouldn't stay dead then either. He would raise himself to life. And he would come back to life. And now he's at God's right hand, and he sends the Holy Spirit to live in you if you believe in him. So let's just close in prayer this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much that you make us go from death to life, that you cause us to be your child when we believe that you died on the cross and rose again. If there's a boy or girl here, or a mom or dad here, grandpa or grandma, or older brother and sister who today is saying, "I never trusted Jesus as my Lord and Savior," I pray that they'll do that today. I pray that they'll say in their hearts, "I want Jesus as my Lord, and I believe that he died and rose again for me." And if you did that, you guys, you entered a new chapter in your life. You went from being dead to being alive spiritually, and Jesus sent his Spirit to live in you, and you can't keep that to yourself. You want to tell others about that. So you guys, I want you to remember, I'll see you on Wednesday. for the midweek meeting. I love you and Jesus loves you, and remember, he's the one that can raise dead people to life again. Encounter him, you will never be the same. I love you guys.